Riter Radio is a BKR Media production. This episode is brought to you by Save-A-Lot.
Where shopping meets a better deal. Where prices stretch my dollar bill. I work hard for my money, so it means a lot. I gotta buy things and don't wanna spend a lot. My dollar goes far and save a lot. My dollar goes far and save a lot.
I went to the Bills game the other day, took my 10-year-old son. It's the second time he's been to a game ever. The first time he's been to one that he requested to go to. We took him and my now 12-year-old 2 years ago. So I took a 10 and 8-year-old. He went as an 8-year-old and watched the Bills beat the Jets, the game where Milano destroyed Mike White. And it was like a slushy rain, crap weather December game that maybe it meant something, maybe not. Didn't feel like it meant a ton. But, it was fun. It was a good time. My wife and two of our three sons, went to the game. Little guy didn't. That was 2 years ago. This year, the schedule came out, and the middle guy, Nate, he's a psycho Bills fan, psycho sports fan, psycho everything. Psycho. He's a psycho. He has been begging since the day the schedule came out to go to either the Chiefs game or the Niners game, obviously with expectations that the Niners would be in a better position. They're still a very talented team with a ton of superstars, but obviously the season hasn't gone well for them, largely due to injury. We didn't get to go to the Chiefs game. A couple days before the game, tickets popped up on Facebook from a friend of mine. I wrote to him, are they still available? Yes. I'll take them. So we went, and a lot of my thinking was, what's the point of being a dad in Buffalo if you have a 10-year-old kid who's begging to go see the best player that the team has ever had in a year that might be the first Super Bowl? We've had a lot of mights. But why have boys? Why have sons and raise them in Western New York if you're going to deny the kid the opportunity to go sit on a Sunday night in the cold, in the snow, and watch this player and this team in a likely MVP season, in a possible Super Bowl season, certainly in a great season, but in a golden era of Bills football. Go let him watch the team clinch the East for the 5th time in a row. I grew up on Bruce Matheson and Vince Ferragamo between Joe Ferguson and Matt Kofler. I started with Ferguson, and obviously worked my way up from there through those crumb bums into the Kelly era, into the Collins era, into the rest of it. Van Pelt and Billy Joe Hobart and Flutie Johnson and the EJ, and before that the Lossman and Holcomb and Trent Edwards and all of it, and then a high point with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I grew up on. I was growing up during the Ryan Fitzpatrick part, but that's what I've dealt with. This dude's born in 2014, and by the time he's conscious, he's watching Josh Allen play for the Bills, and that's something that needs to be cherished. And his relationship with this team needs to be nurtured and flaunted. And I'm just the guy to do it. So we went to the game. And in watching the game and in watching, things we just haven't seen before. And it was a crazy fun snow game. All of the stuff was great. The parking lot was fun. And then the walk-in was the only part I didn't love because it was slippery and slushy and crappy. But once you got in there, we weren't even cold. MVP of the game, those little hand warmer things. Fantastic. Only thing I needed. We dressed appropriately, lots of layers, but legitimately, I was out in the cold for 6 hours with a 10-year-old who never complained. And I don't know if you know anything about 10-year-olds. They tend to complain, but none of that. It was great. It was a great night. I'm under the impression that people who watched it on TV thought it was cool. People who were there realized it was a real moment, a real experience, a real thing that's going to lock in, and to be able to lock it into a 10-year-old's brain forever. When I'm dead, he's going to remember that. That's cool. But also in the past 2 days, I have a confession. I I always am thinking about what kind of podcast do I want to launch. I've had several. I do the UB football one with Scott Wilson on a weekly basis, which I think is really good, mostly because of Scott, but also because I've got equipment to record things and make them sound okay at home. I don't need a studio. I don't need help. I can edit things. I can do all the stuff. And to be quite honest, I have a lot of things I want to say. And then I think about, and this is to go back to what I said about the quarterbacks, I got into radio in 1997, which is the Todd Collins year, okay? So I didn't even get to cover the Jim Kelly Bills in any way. I didn't get to discuss the Jim Kelly Bills on the radio. I was at the end of Marv, the beginning of Collins, and then the Wade Phillips stuff, and then all the other quarterbacks we've mentioned, numerous coaches that we don't need to even discuss. And I was out of radio aside from the UB football part of it before Josh Allen landed here. And listening to the guys on GR, especially the younger guys on GR, I'm just thinking, you don't have any idea how good you have it. There's this whole crew of us who got hired around, 96, 97, 98, all dudes that are, around 50 years old now, but we were 20-something, young 20-somethings then. And we were crawling all over each other to get on the air to talk about the Todd Collins Bills and the Flutie Bills and the Johnson Bills and that's what we had. And it did not get better from there until sort of a high point with Fitz and then the Allen thing. Tyrod was all right, fine. But it's well documented. They missed the playoffs several years in there. And there was that whole drought covered the whole time WGR is a sports station. So, I'm talking about me, but how about the guys who've been there right from the start? Bulldog has been there from the start. Shope came over a little bit later, but he's been around about the same amount of time. Jeremy came a little bit later. Howard Simon was there for all of it, and no longer is, obviously. Joe DiBiase in there, but he would fit in with the younger guys I'm talking about. I just don't know if they appreciate that they're talking about the good stuff. And we spent a lot of time talking about the crap. So at some point today, I decided I'm going to, from here to the end of the season, do a podcast and talk about the Bills because I'm thinking about them. And I know the podcast market is super saturated with Bills talk. I don't think it has anything like what I can give you over the next couple of months. So I don't know exactly what it's going to turn out to be. I plan on it morphing into something that's not about the Bills maybe by the time the season's over. But for now, it's at least a starting point to get me back to spouting all the crap that's in my head to someone other than my wife and my children and people who bump into me at grocery stores. I've got a lot of ideas. I've got a lot of thoughts. Not necessarily all of them are groundbreaking, but at least I get them out. And hey, it's something to do. It's fun. And I'm going to involve one or more of my kids in this. They're all interested in either sports or just the technical part of putting together audio things. My oldest son is very into music, not that into sports. The other two are psychos about sports. So I'm sure they will be a part of it, especially Nate, who seems really to be gravitating toward wanting to talk about this. And, he's constantly watching YouTube videos and studying the players. He knows more players around the league than I do. I watch the Bills. I watch Monday Night Football. I watch probably Thursday Night Football. I watch the UB Bulls, and that's about the extent of my football viewing. But I don't want to downplay it. I watch as much as the common man. I'm just not doing it professionally anymore. But I still have thoughts, and I want to get them out there. So that's the purpose of this, and that's what has made me say, I like podcasting. I like the Bills. I know there are a million podcasts about the Bills. I know there's radio stations and television coverage and everything, websites. Twitter accounts, not Twitter, X accounts. The other one that I'm just learning about accounts, I'm sure those exist too. Blue Sky, is that what it is? Just learned of that within the last couple of days. That's how out of touch I am. I'm 50. I turned 50. So I'm not super technologically advanced anymore. But the kids keep me posted, my own kids, and then, hanging around some people a little bit younger than me. They keep me informed at least enough. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point of the story is, I'm going to start doing a podcast on a regular basis. I'm thinking daily. I'm thinking 5 days a week. And it's going to be a little bit of just me. But I will work in guests, including, they won't all be children, but don't be surprised if some kids show up from here to there. For example, guest number 1 on the newly launched podcast that doesn't have a name right now, so it'll probably just be Riter Radio until I think of something. But as I mentioned, I took my son Nate, who's 10, to the game. I said, write down 5 observations about the game, and you can come on and talk about them. So let's go right now to my good friend and Bill's viewing partner, Nate, with 5 observations about the Bills game in which they clinched the division for the 5th year in a row over the San Francisco 49ers. We saw it in person. Here's Nate.
Hold up.
All right, Nate, what's observation number 1?
Okay, so that was the first real game, Bills game, that I've went to. I went to one 2 years ago, went to a preseason game this year, but first one where I was actually paying attention and into the Bills.
Also, this is one where you've been asking for tickets. The schedule came out, and you targeted 2 games.
Yeah, I wanted to go to either the Bills and Chiefs game or Bills and 49ers game. Bills and Chiefs didn't work out, but then 2 days before the game, we got tickets and had a really
Not just we got
close
tickets. You came home from school, and I said, guess what, right?
Yeah.
Surprise from Super Dad over here, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good gift, pretty good idea.
Yeah.
All right, what's observation number 2, Nate?
When we were at the game, the fans were a little crazy. Bills fans, they were just yelling all sorts of things like, go Allen, or Alley, and stuff like that. 49ers fans, there were more than I expected, but also none of them were actually from San Francisco. Like, there was this one guy who was asking 49ers fans, did you actually come from San Francisco? And he said no. And the guy said, well, I've asked about 100 people, and none of them have been from San Francisco. They've just been wearing San
Where were they
Francisco.
from? We figured this out. Where were they all from?
Canada.
All of them. All of them were from Canada. They're the same people that sit in the front row at Sabres games wearing Canucks jerseys when the Canucks are in town, and Leafs jerseys when the Leafs are in town, and Jets jerseys when the Jets are in town. And you're all from Fort Erie, and we know that. So knock it off. Observation number 3.
So when we were at the game, we saw James Cook 65-yard touchdown. When we were walking into the game, I said the thing I wanted to see most was a long play, whether it was a rush or pass. I wanted a deep pass touchdown more, but that was still really cool to see James Cook just go 65 yards, one play, touchdown.
And what was my natural reaction as that play was happening? What did I say out loud to the world?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I just started waving. I didn't even know what I was doing. Just waving and waving. All right, that was number 3. All right, what's observation number 4 from Nate's first real NFL game?
On the Bills, I think it was their 3rd touchdown. It was, I think, 3rd and goal, and Allen was going to pass, had no one open, and then he turned and looked and saw and read Hollins. He came back for a toe tap touchdown and gave the Bills a 21-3 lead.
Now that you've been to a game from that perspective, do you realize how little you actually see when you're watching on television compared to watching the play develop? We were in the 33rd row of the 100 level at about the 10-yard line or so.
Yeah.
That happened at the other end of the field, but even still, I remember thinking, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, because there's nothing open. And I was right at the time, but like you said, he read Hollins, Hollins read him, came back to the pylon and made just a fantastic play. Super underrated in a game where there were so many fantastic things that happened. That was a pretty subtle one, but just a great read and a great moment where the quarterback understands who he's working with. And the receiver has been with him since, well, it's new this year, but been with him since July, and they know each other. Speaking of knowing each other and figuring it out and working together, what is your 5th observation of the game? We kind of counted them down because this is kind of number 1, but what's the thing you're going to remember from that game for maybe the rest of your life?
Yeah. The one of the greatest plays that I'll ever see. Josh Allen throws it to Cooper. He one-hands it behind him, and then he just pitches it back to Allen, who breaks a tackle and then dives for the pylon for a touchdown.
I was wondering what he was doing over there. Like, that doesn't usually happen, like, when you throw, like, a dart route like that. I just saw him. I figured he was over there because he wanted the ball, so I gave it to him.
Only the fourth player ever to throw a pass and still get a receiving touchdown on the same play.
And the first player, as has been well documented in the past few days, first player in NFL history, we think. I'm just basing it on what I read, to have a passing touchdown, receiving touchdown, and rushing touchdown all in the same game. Pretty good. One other thing. What did I say to you right after that play happened?
Right after that play, you said, when Josh Allen goes into the Hall of Fame and there's 5 or 6 plays that they show of all of his all-time great highlights, that's going to be one of them.
And you were there.
Yeah.
It happened right in front of you.
Yeah.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
What did Kyle Brandt have to say about it on Good Morning Football?
The Josh Allen Amari Cooper thing was so cool and out of nowhere because you don't actually expect it to happen. I've seen a lot of Josh Allen plays. I've seen a lot more important Josh Allen plays. We're going to see a lot more. They didn't even really need that touchdown, but it was still one of the plays of the year because one player threw it backwards to another at great risk and peril. When Josh Allen retires and he goes in the Hall of Fame and they do a 60-second video montage, they're going to play that clip of Amari Cooper lateraling it to him.
Exactly, Kyle, exactly. I don't know, Kyle. I just stole that audio from the Good Morning Football podcast version that I heard. But to wake up the next morning after that game and hear Kyle Brandt, who I find entertaining and intelligent, say the exact thing that I said the second that it happened to my son as it happened right in front of him. Dude, you're 10. He's going in the Hall of Fame. Are going to show that play. And I know this as a fact. It felt good, and it was validating to hear that. There are so many things. The fact that I have not had a ton of time behind a microphone talking about this player means I've got a lot to say. Like my praise will be effusive. One of my favorite things that I've heard about it, and I'm not going to dwell too much today because I'm going to have guests. We're going to do a lot of stuff on future episodes, which I'm serious this time. He says, questioning himself, it seems right to me to document this, even if nobody listens and nobody cares, to document this for myself. This journey that I think we're about to go on. It started in 2018, but I don't know. I feel kind of a peak coming here, and it seems to make sense to document it on a daily basis, or most days basis. I'll leave out the weekends, or maybe I won't. I don't know. It's not difficult to sit down and record a little bit when I'm as excited as I am about this team and this player in particular. From the time he got here, from the moment he jumped over Anthony Barr, and I remember I was watching that game alone because somebody scheduled a kid's birthday party at the zoo during a Bills game, and I guess it was okay to do back in 2018, but I didn't go. So I sat home and watched by myself, and then when my wife and kids came home, said, you got to see this thing. My youngest son, so he's born in 16, he's 2 years old at the time. In his crib, he used to ask me, Daddy, watch Josh Allen jump over the Vikings? Every night. And I had to keep showing him the video of Josh Allen leaping over Anthony Barr. He has since leapt over several players in far bigger games and bigger moments. And on a larger stage and with more people caring and knowing and being interested and recognizing what they're seeing. But, I mean, to me, what we're seeing is for sure the best player I've ever seen play for my favorite team. I did not see O.J. Simpson play. I'm not that old. I'm not quite old enough for that. But I watched those 90s teams. This is not, there's nothing that resembles this. Maybe Bruce Smith, was kind of, sort of like this, but not the world needs to stop what it's doing and watch the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills do his thing the way that it is right now. So this is one of the top athletes in the world of my lifetime. I talk about this is like a Bob Gone question. Bob has posed this before as we're, sitting around a table at a bar playing trivia. Here's how you decide who's the best athlete. We're in gym class. Everyone in the world is available, and you don't know what sport you're about to play. Who's your pick? Now it gets a little weird when it gets into hockey, but there's no hockey in gym class. There might be floor hockey. I'll take Josh in floor hockey. You don't know what you're going to play. It might be football. It might be basketball. It might be wrestling. It might be volleyball. You might be fighting. I don't know. There might be an obstacle course. What else do we do? Some kind of jump rope stuff. There might be something involving a trampoline. I'm trying to think through gym class from elementary through high school. Team handball. That was fun. Baseball. Whatever it is. You don't know the sport, but we're having a draft right now. Who you picking? And look, I've been to, I think, 3 now consecutive. No, I missed one. 2 of the last 3 or 3 of the last 4, whatever it is. The Micah Hyde softball game. And marveled at Josh Allen in shorts playing a sport that didn't make him famous. It's a different one, and he's just a different category of human being and athlete as you're watching him amongst other star professional athletes. And that's at a softball game in the summer. Put that on the football field in the most popular American televised sport, and what you've got is one of the stars of the world right now playing his home football games in Orchard Park for the last several years and for the foreseeable future. I can't envision a world where he ever plays anywhere else. Can you? There's that aspect of it. And also the part where, by all accounts, he's a genuine, good, intelligent, cool dude. That guy representing your team in your town that you've been rooting for your entire life is a gift that needs to be cherished and remembered throughout. They're not all going to be wins. They're not all going to be completions. They're not all going to be touchdown passes. They're not all going to be Super Bowl championships. But my God, enjoy every moment that you get to watch this guy play, certainly while he's in his prime. And there should be, fingers crossed, a whole lot of that left. And I'm sick of not talking about it into a microphone. So that's why I jumped in here on this feed that lately has just been the UB podcast to do this. I need to do this. I need to do it more often. You'll hear from me very soon. I hope it's tomorrow. Till then, thank you for listening. Please share it. And for now, this is still just called Riter Radio. Thanks.
I work hard for my money, so it means a lot. I gotta buy things and don't wanna spend a lot. My dollar goes far and save a lot. My dollar goes far and save a lot. Where shopping meets a better deal, where prices stretch my dollar bill. I work hard for my money, so it means a lot. I gotta buy things and don't wanna spend a lot. My dollar goes far and save a lot. My dollar goes far and save a lot.